Good afternoon, everybody. This is P. Francis McNichol, otherwise known as Phil to my friends. I am continuing a reading of Chapter 6, Khakis, Crackers, and Quacks, and I hope people enjoy it. It's just a portion of Below the Precipice, my breakout horror novel. We last left off at page 87. So to express and explain a lot about Below the Precipice, there is so much descriptive scenes, and there are so many descriptive scenes and so much information. I feel happy to do about 7 pages reading aloud at a time. However, it might have to be done in installments for each chapter that I portray and I read aloud. And I hope people can follow along with me, because this is narration from the main character, Teal, at different points of the novel. He has different ages as he's describing everything he went through, coming in contact with ghosts. We left off yesterday, page 87, so I'm going to start reading from the top of page 87. He starts out in quotations. Ma'am, what's your name? I asked, trying to break the boredom. I'm Jean. That's what they call me. You are? Robert McAvoy. They call me Teal. I was named after a majestic bird. How old are you doing this job? I asked, attempting to make normal conversation. You trying to be fresh, Robert? I don't have all morning for that, she stated. No, ma'am. If I were, that would be cool. You're no older than my sisters anyways. I meant nothing like that. Do you need help? No, but are you new? You seem like you've been here before, Janine stated. Her cheeks began to redden as if put on the spot. I meant no offense to the girl, but she was fairly cute and defiant in a sensuous way. She dodged speaking with me and continued her demands of the subordinates, ducking. I stood up and assisted another of the drones and sat him on the other side of me. Jean, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to sound forward. You've been here long is all I meant. Sir, you need to focus on you. I assumed you were a visitor. If you're a patient, then you need to speak with the doctor and explain everything to them. How old are you? She asked, glibly. An exacting tone emanated from her voice. However, her eyes glistened with an enticing friendliness that turned me on. Jean, can I call you that? Is that short for something? I don't understand why I'm here, but I just wanted to be friendly. That's all. Janine, fresh boy, just be good. You already have a lot more on the ball than most of the clients here, and I can't show favoritism, so sit and wait to eat, the lass replied. Her smile was uniquely proper, yet beautifully illuminating. Her mouth thinned while spreading under a clear and sandy-colored face. My heart thumped as I lusted after her, imagining what the doctor and nurse were up to earlier. She was almost out of my league, and I looked forward from then on out to seeing her. I moved to another seat and proudly plopped down. The younger blonde girl continued at the front of the seats and repeated her childish kindergarten lingo. How, now, birds and dogs and cows. Her left hand trembled, and she occasionally tapped at her side. The television was turned on, and the group cackled at the screen as the volume increased. I turned to my right, and a boy picked his nose and ate it. He must have been hungry, because I was getting there too. I even smelled the morning cooking, drifting ever so warmly through the double doors. A few dullards barked out wailing belches and returned to sitting and stare. The place was different, all right. It wasn't the emergency room, but it wasn't dull either. We all ate together at the 3 card tables to the front. The hospital food was plain and generic in texture and presentation. I finished the meal in a few minutes flat and asked if there were seconds. I was peeved that I was expected to eat only 2 pieces of bacon, 2 hard-boiled eggs, and 2 pieces of toast. The dry, hearty meal was capped off with a single glass of milk that barely wet the whistle. The young'un in the pink jammies finished her meal and returned behind us to face the empty seats. She went on with her pseudo-phrases and ticked. She was an adorable, girlish creature that led one to ponder about her own fallibility in the joint. I never observed her in any other activities that the majority of us all had to participate in. She was a fixture in the word that everyone seemed to acknowledge as customary and constant. How, now, birds, and... I turned and rotated around, looking for someone I could confer with. It was slim pickings in the gallery. They all had their own little worlds I wondered whether I should enter or not. I saw a boy my own age across the table that appeared harmless enough, so I asked him about the petite fairy. Is that girl all right behind me? The boy, who was almost 200 pounds, peered up and blurted flatly, "Oh, that's Nancy. She's been here the longest. Been here a long time. She's like that. Don't worry about her. You won't even notice her after a few days." Brr. She came out of a skating accident. Brr. The boy concluded his response with gassy air blasts. "You been here long too?" I asked. He appeared nice, and the only person I seen talking aloud. It was to himself, but I thought I'd try. "New kid, give it a while. You'll see. Things aren't as they ought to be in here. See the girl?" The boy pointed at Nancy. "She's been here, they say, for 2 years. Parents got the green and don't want no part of the big leagues out in the mountains. They can afford it, so no one budges to send her or help in other ways. Expectations. They won't see her either. They feel they're being punished, and she's the reminder of them being fuck-ups." "Strange parents indeed. Why they call her Nancy? Because of her twitching?" I asked. I observed the kid lean back and rub his pot belly. He had a sticker name tag on his t-shirt just above his clavicle and almost out of sight. "Yep, brr. Antsy Pantsy Nancy, just because of that. You going to be here long too?" "Shut up, Ralphie, you dumb bitch," he yelled, turning his head to desolate air. "Oh, I don't know. What's your name? Is it Ian, like the shirt says?" "Yep." "Ian Scott, named after the fucked up uncle I've met once in the bathroom." Not now. Later, I promise you," the boy stated. I saw that when he turned his basketball-sized head, it was a good time not to offend the guy. He dribbled a little and intermittently raised his head as he talked to me. Then it was okay to speak to him. "Uncle, huh? Mine was this ghost. He was dead and blue and..." "Shut the fuck up," Ian pounced. He got out of his chair and walked to Nancy. He sat right in front of her and reached for her trembling hand. He rubbed the hand and said something I couldn't make out. He leered up at the girl and smiled. She stood, not moving, unresponsive. Oh, okay. What a weird fuck. I could take that dick if I had to, I tempted myself. "We hear you fine, Teal man. Keep it down. We're not done yet with you, young man. Oh, I wish I were in the land of cotton. Look away, the screeching old voice announced. I got up and looked around the bay. The figurines tended to their own little fragile existence. I backed away when I heard that raspy echo. Keep it down, okay? We're not done with you yet, young bugler. Hee 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 hee, it trailed off. I fell, tripping over Auntie's feet, and landed on the seat beside Ian Scott. Birds? And dogs? The rear of my skull tapped the headrest and abruptly stopped. Ian slid away from me and punched my arm, stating, I got my own problems, pal. Uncle, fuck that. You daddy Warbucks? Not my pooey Stewie. Not when Mom's home. Not my pooey Stewie. The boy rose and asked for help from the orderlies. He was upset and worried like he cared. Chaos ensued. They all approached and supported my head. Yeah, he just fell back and smacked it hard, Doctor. I saw the darkness again along with the twinkling spotted lights. It was silently empty and far from where I was just seconds ago. Candy Striper Janine spread my eyelids apart and observed the pinpointed pupils. Okay, give him some space. Dr. Harris, can you please respond? This patient's out cold, Doctor, she relayed, waving some air on me. A cluster of children began to congregate and moan. Dr. Harris approached with her notepad slid under the client's personnel clipboard. Her narrow, horn-rimmed glasses magnified her beady gray eyes as she read thoroughly my history and synopsis. It unfolded twice and hit her in the kneecaps as she scanned. Okay. Miss Janine says prone to fainting spells brought on by stress. Has a history of head trauma. Take a patient if you need and walk him to his room. Go ahead before we rile the others, girl. Everyone, move along and read. You have your assignments. Wait for meds. Go, the doctor sneered. Her stringy salt and pepper hair was tied in a knot to the rear of her skinny head. A few of them were displaced, weaving in the drafty air. A bony face of wrinkling skin barely spread the width of her front to meet her ears. A slight peachy mustache lay horizontal above her chapped lips. She was lanky and old, but lacked no skill of conviction. Her subordinates jumped and scattered like the dust mites that inhabited the last ward of the hospital, reeling, "Yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am." As we entered my room, I began to smell flowers and the musty scent of armpit. The woman definitely smelled prime for her boyfriend. I saw some brownish light from behind the curtains and knew we were at my room. My bed was like I slept in. I lifted my head above Jean's upper shoulder and looked at the left orb. Astutely pronounced and taut, I reached around and brushed my right hand on the right jiggling one. Now, fresh boy, that isn't my shoulder. She pulled my good arm around off of her bosom. She assisted me down and smiled quaintly. I was in love with her hard-to-get mentality. It did something inside of me, and I smiled too. I guess that was part of being a regular guy. She placed the pillow behind me and gave it a slap. Then she took the tips of her fingers and jokingly pushed my head back. As she bent over, I gripped her and acted like I lost my balance. She fell on me, and I could barely breathe. Her fun bags pressed hard in my face. I was panting and wouldn't let go. I giggled and jiggled because she was off her balance and laughing also. She liked it, I could tell, even as she tried to remove herself from my one-arm grasp. She lowered her beautiful head and grinned again from ear to ear. She was ecstatic and flabbergasted. She kissed me with a peck and did a push-up off of my wanting body. Jean was stronger than me and nearly muscle-bound. I couldn't believe what I just did to the lady. She must have been 6 years older, for Pete's sake. I was horny and wanted her to return. Buxom and well-built, she straightened out her lower suit and primly picked at the back center of her butt. She walked off, embarrassed and smiling. I couldn't think right and was happy I came to the hospital when I did. It was a feeling I didn't experience yet as a struggling youngster. It almost erased the reason why we had met to begin with. Imagining a clan of castaway spirits, I briefly changed gears and dreamed of Janine in a mounting of my own. Her freshly supple skin being massaged by my strong manly hands, her pink and unmolested skin producing a slight field of goose pimples, her scent of spreading legs, her kneeling before me, doing what some women love to do. I fell asleep until the evening dinner call. Robert, you need to get up and eat. Dinner time, young man. The psychiatrist. Dr. Steedier announced. He made sure I heard him and even paused for a moment to see if I had a response about the previous encounter. I couldn't care less, thinking I would do the same with Janine. I'm up. Yes, sir, I am up, I replied, lowering my voice sarcastically. I wish no part of any argument with the man. At that point, I only hoped to keep a low profile and hopefully score with the prettiest and older candy striper I knew was tagging at some of my bait. I was sleepy and worried not about the dinner smell that permeated throughout the lobby. The actual ingestion I was afraid of. We were served a ready-made spaghetti dinner of Salisbury steak and yellowing mashed potatoes that smelled like salty urine. I stuck to the meat and drained all the liquid from off of the browning fillet. It was bland and tasteless, so I drank a sip of cider with each chomp. When we finished, I did a nonchalant pivoting around the room. Janine was gone for the evening shift. I was relegated to staring at the older taken nurses. I began to wonder about the medications situation. The others were on some good shit, because it subdued and subverted any attempt of trying to be sane. He and Scott was the only one that talked, and that was to himself once in a while. I looked for him too because he wasn't at dinner. Ancy returned to the front of the chairs and chanted aloud. The 17 others placed their trays on a roll cart and eagerly sucked down their meds handed to them by Miss Rodriguez. All was well, but no one came to speak with me about my dilemma. I wondered if old Dick Chancellery had forgotten about our projected follow-ups and perhaps cared about probing the inner workings of the Tealster. Mom hadn't called either. I exited my chair and approached the hurrying skank. She was popping pills and capsules through the tin membranes and tossing them in the disposable couplets. Miss Nurse Person, do I get to see a doctor for my headaches? I asked politely. Adios mios, you stinking child. Of course you will. Just have a seat and wait for the physician to see to you. Thank you, child. She put her claws on my neck and sadistically turned me around and pushed back towards the seats. Her demeanor was acutely painful to my psyche and rotator cuff. I replied in kind, Arriba, slut, and walked to the far end of the seats and sat. Marion took 2 expansion classes of the Spanish language in high school and found them unchallenging and wished to confront the wicked with such tongue. My sulking had started the silent war with the body fuckers, and it was on from there on out. As I sat watching the tube, I concentrated on the other drones. They all have received some sort of counseling that I felt jealous I didn't have. I knew that maybe some good meds would ease the trauma of the ill-spirited, unknown castaways. Comforting sleep I was experiencing still, but the thought of other Jeds frightened me. They were there for a reason and either wanted my assistance or wanted to torment me relentlessly, or both. I hoped it was just the former, wishing that the game they played had some rules changed. Where would I go after this place? The big house out in the mountains? No, that wouldn't be helpful to the regiment. The regiment. Yes, Terrence said, regiment. Who the hell were they? Terrence said a lot of things. He was too shot to shit to say much else but apologies. The sheer, I repeated to myself. The wayward side of the cliff that steeply dropped about 40 plus feet. I visualized and recited. What was that little Albert said, explaining about the cleared top? He hinted to some neighborhood child lore. They fought some Civil War battles there. Skirmishes, I thought. I've read of no battles this far east of Bull Run. The new U.S. GIs might have trained, yes, but how would you research the New Age military? Regiments, Confederates, or U.S. regulars could have. Young man, Dr. Steeder will see you now. Go see him at the stainless desk. There, the nurse interrupted. Yes, ma'am. Sorry about earlier. I guess I'm fatigued or something. Get, boy, the slut ordered. Her naturally olive skin started to shade into a color of red brick. Her ears puckered and stood up in points, and practically tense backwards. Her nose went up, gradually in the air, snobbishly. I hurried to the counter to see the doc. Robert, are you sure you're supposed to be here? I was reviewing your history, and this may be a medical situation. It may be that you needn't be here at the ward. Do you see what I'm saying? The Hippocratic patron asked. His proper form and stature was intimidating. I searched for the right response. Sir, I'm not sure of anything. I can explain what I thought may have happened, but I can't tell you for certain. No one has even spoke to me about those dreams I have all the time. They just happened, I replied, spreading it on thick. Well, do you remember the drugs the doctors put you on? Or should I recommend a more physical intervention? Physical what? I asked, knowing some sort of bluff was called. I played dumb and parceled my words. Well, Robert, your physical history states right here that you've had blunt trauma to your head, experienced multiple times, and a surgical entry in your skull may be the key. Do you think our therapy will help the problems you exhibit or not? Do you see? Doctor, don't you interview or do tests or something? I mean, this is the first time since yesterday I've seen anyone that matters. Do you think? Dick Chancellorly was the first guy I spoke with about anything. Maybe you should ask him, I replied, astounded at his brashness. He closed my file and said a brief acknowledgement of sorts. We'll see if we can reach him at the mountains. Go and clean your room for now. The doctor hesitated and glanced up at the Latina with a disapproving answer. He was at a standstill in his diagnosis. I prepared for future attacks from the two. Lori Rodriguez shook her head as if I left, disagreeing with her mentor. What the witch didn't say, her master definitely heard as I walked to the crypt of mine. I was yearning for Janine, tightening my bed. The interior light came on when Ian Scott entered with his bags. His room had been changed, and we were now considered partners. Yep, that's what they said. Said we were to work and help each other out, I guess. Shithead, Ian barked. Shithead, I defensively stated. Just kidding, that was me. No, seriously, they got me trying some new shit. Supposed to be good for you. Really works good, they say. Hope it works, Pooey. Good, I hope so. I hate those two out there. They ain't here for us, man. They're no good for us here. They're all about screwing and screwing the children, I let out. I felt comfortable with Ian, because even though he outweighed me by 50 pounds, we were equivalents in the mind. He plopped on the first bed at the door. Doctors, nurses, who cares anyways? They don't unless they could have healed everyone on the red carpet, my man. I don't know. Seems even they need a screw tightener or two. Yeah, but why would you be a shrink unless you wanted to do anything but help people? That's their problem, and it should be a virtue, I replied. I lay on my assigned mattress, counting the lines and strands of blackened webs that vibrated within the corner of the room. Yeah, you're right, Robert. Who knows? The two of us poetically jested for a while, staring at the death webs at our heads. The light stayed on for the rest of the evening. I went to bed and slept, dreaming of a better world for me and the fam. The apologies to come stuck in the forefront of the inner debate I had with myself. The door was open and others shuffled about, just outside of earshot. In the distance, Nancy did her thing. How now, birds and dogs and cows? Okay, I will. Yes. Okay, I will. Then, just as quickly as she recounted those redundant words, she sat in a chair in front of her and laughed. Gee, you can't assume anything about school yet, the aspiring valedictorian goaded. You have at least 3 months to apply. You don't seem to comprehend my mother's way. It's her way or no way. I'm as afraid as you are. Can you see what I'm saying, or are you just being spoiled? The lady stated in reply. The lass's hair fell around her shoulders, layered and silky. Her sweater was robust and tight, protruding out slightly more than the last time she wore it in. She hugged the man for the depravity she felt and solace, wishing for consoling that only he could provide. Her bosom squeezed snugly into his lower breastbone. He began to excite and warm between his legs. He was hardening in seconds after the arm-locking hug and wanted her again. Think about it, G. This is both of our lives we're talking about, and you seem to be a little one-sided right now. I'm not saying that your mother would be right or wrong. We're supposed to be together on this one, no matter what she says. It's just that we don't have all year to decide. Mom will only give an opinion, and that might affect us longer than... Shit, longer than what? You have little to do with my ass being beat. If you're going to get it beat too, let's go. I'm game if you are, the girl yelled. She withdrew her grip from the boy's embrace and walked angrily to the sliding glass door. Out into the backyard, the lady hurried, skipping to cheat the windy gusts and pelting rain. The bitter wind caught her top as she made her way to the front of the house, into the carport. She entered her car and punched the steering wheel, pissed. The man followed his mate to the side of the house. Trees slung rain showers on his bare shoulders and shoeless feet. He hunched as the impact grew more intense and exacting. Honey, come back, please. Let's talk about this, the boy yelled, shivering. Sweetly mellow glare and indigenous lighting lit the rainy Southampton roadway. The commuters were in numbers exceeding thousands, returning from their work in rock gardens. The Southampton back road eventually collided with the Barkett Valley Depot that entered the far western county estuary and secluded animal reserves. On the outer edge of the reserve, Single plots of land were auctioned off in the millions of dollars. The exodus of the capitalists from the bustling northern expanses retired to the slower and quietly gullible provinces where a natural peace advanced continuously and was paid for by that wealth. Barkett Station Lane intersected Southampton and snaked through those boundaries of the two, wooded and dense. As the young gal drove, her boyfriend's warning crept into her thought. The bill she would have to pay in order to continue in the twisting tryst was enormous and arid. After all, it's only surgery, he promised. The newly turned 18-year-old would have to go it alone if she stayed on her present course. She swashed a bit and blew her nose as an unheard rebuttal. She longed for the warmth of her house and comforting of her mother, but that too would come at a cost. Her newly purchased compact was uniquely efficient and economic, allowing her to save money for college she intended on attending the following autumn. The brown two-door fled swiftly through the pavement, hugging and swaying the road, and came to a steady stop at the light. She paused and tossed the tissue into the console. She was content on going it alone and decided that life was a better avenue than that of her boyfriend's greed and immaturity. That was a few pages read of Chapter 6, Khakis, Crackers, and Quacks. It's basically when the main character is admitted into a psychiatric ward for children. And this is where he meets his love of his life and someone he really admires. She's a few years older than her. And he has a large family, and he's the youngest. So his sisters are naturally older, a few years older, 4 years, 5 years older. And so he doesn't think of her as not someone he can't date, and he's a younger kid and he's learning this. I want to say preteen, early teen, and he's learning this, that he really likes her. So the novel goes and does some background with Janine, the love of the flirt, the love of his life he flirts with. And she's really a beautiful young lady, figuring it out for herself. But she has some trials and tribulations now that she has to work through with her parents, with her boyfriend, and what have you. And she's driving home from her boyfriend's house. So I introduce her into the novel, and it's basically how Teal starts dating. He wants to start eventually, as it's shown in the novel, raise his family the right way and be with his eventual love. Okay. However, the ghosts are very horrific. They're very cutthroat. And they are going out of their way to make themselves known. And you'll see more in this chapter and the chapters coming afterwards, where these there is no placating these ghosts. They want help and they'll use help, but at the same time, they are okay with making things occur that harm people very badly or kill them. And I hold no bars, no holds barred with Below the Precipice. Okay, but is it slasher, gore? No, it's not redundant. It's well done. And the next installment, I believe, okay, we're at page 96. I believe there's 14 more pages of chapter 6, Khakis, Crackers, and Quacks. But it was the introduction to the main character and how he's looked at as mentally ill, or he's just a crazy kid that everybody just pushes to the side, when he's actually very intelligent, and he looks at adults as being either corrupt or they're really good and they look after kids. They're there to help children and humanity. They're not there to be selfish. They're not there to only steal from people and not help them at all. So that was my conclusion for reading today. And I hope people can tag along. I'm going to try, because I work evening shift, I'm going to try to do this from now on in the lunchtime hour at 12 noon, sometime between 12 noon and 1, and hopefully I can read more than just 3 or 4 pages. It's a great read, and I hope people really enjoy it. Below the Precipice. Below the Precipice. It's a great story, and every time I read it, I'm like so happy that I had the pleasure and opportunity to write my first novel from scratch. And it's perfection. It's near perfection. And I thank my friends who have always supported me as a writer, you know. And there will be a reading tomorrow about noontime, maybe 11 to 12 o'clock or 12 to 1 p.m. Thank you guys, and I hope you have a great day and enjoyed.